some really great Halloween decor ideas for you using wood and stencils. This set of stencils I got from Temu, and I'm going to share all of these stencils with you before I get into making anything. So the first stencil I'm going to show you is to make like a porch leaner, a welcome sign. This is the top one. And then you have this one. You can see the skeleton's arms and some of the letters, some bones there. And then this one has the rest of them. See a little spider over here, the feet. So that's for that one. Then we have this one, says Happy Halloween. This one's Trick or Treat. Welcome my pretties. Hey Boo. This one says Spooky. Oops. And we have Happy Halloween. Bed and Breakfast Inn. And there's one more. I've already used this stencil. Hocus Pocus, which is wanted at Fly Within. It's got a broom and some bats. And this is what I made with it. I made a flag. Just stenciled it on there using indoor outdoor paint and put some ribbon on the bottom of it. And I'm going to show you how I made this flag. I'm not going to make this same flag again. I'm not going to be making it in this video, but in another one I will be making the flag that I'm going to be making for myself to share with you. Okay, now that I've showed you all of this, let's get started. Okay, for this first project, I'm making a sign with the Dead and Breakfast Inn stencil, along with I'm going to use the ghost from the Trick or Treat stencil. And now I have this board. I didn't need to paint it. It was just a piece of scrap wood that someone was throwing away, and it already had this look to it. It was like an off-white color, and it has been well worn, and it would be the same as if you were to paint a board with white paint and then go over it very heavy with some sandpaper. That's how this board looked. Okay, now with the white you're seeing, that is Mod Podge. I put a nice moderate layer of Mod Podge on the board. I let it sit for a couple minutes just so that it's not dry, it's kind of tacky. And then I'm taking just black acrylic paint and just lightly brushing it over the top so that the two don't mix. And then I'm going to take my hairdryer, and as I use my hairdryer on this board, it's going to dry and it's going to cause bubbles on the surface of the black paint there. And then I'm going to take this, is a coupons that came in the mail, and I'm just doing that where the bubbles are, and it's going to take that black paint off, and then it's going to create this really interesting distressing look to the board, and you'll see that here in a minute. And it just kind of gives it those spooky Halloween vibes. Yeah, there it is. And it creates, some crackle. It's kind of similar to the crackle effect, but it's just a little bit different. And now I'm going to paint the edges of the board black as well. Now here's the Dead and Breakfast Inn stencil, and I'm using gray on the lettering. And I could have used white, but I wanted it to look, older, just a little different than, because I wanted to paint the little skulls and the ghosts white. So I didn't want the letters to be exactly the same color. So I'm just using this pale gray color on all of the lettering on it has a date, it's like 1678 or something at the top. And then Dead and Breakfast Inn, I'm doing that all in the light gray color. And then after I get all of that done, then I am going to use white on the skulls. The little skulls have like candles on top. And so I'm doing those in white. Then after I get that done, then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I should have used, some kind of color for part of it. So I decide that I'm going to use this orange yellow color, and I'm going to go over the Dead and Breakfast part. The date at the top, and the inn I'm going to leave in the gray color. But also it helps if you're doing, a color like this on top of black. It will help it stand out more if it is on top of a lighter color. So doing it over top of the pale gray was a good idea anyway. So then I get the yellow orange on there. It's kind of a Halloween color. Whenever it's all finished, you'll see. Okay, so there's that. And it looks really neat. I like that. And I want to put the ghost that was on the trick or treat stencil. I'm going to put that on either side. I don't show this part because the stencil is going to go over the other letters on the other side, but I do take my hair dryer and dry all of the paint before I put that stencil on there, because if otherwise it would have messed it all up. And that is what it looks like there after everything is stenciled on. Now I'm just going to take this old rusty piece of wire and use my staple gun to staple the wire onto the board. Now I could have drilled holes in the board and put the wire through the holes, but I just decided to do it this way. And now it's time to add some embellishments. You can add whatever you want to your signs, and I'm going to be making 3 different signs with stencils that are all similar like this. They're all about the same length, about 2 feet long, but I'm going to show you different ways that you can dress them up. So this is how I'm doing this one. I'm taking some raffia, I tied it onto the wire hanger, and I'm using these leaves. I purchased these leaves at Kroger after the fall season a couple years ago. I'm just about out of them. But I love these leaves. They sound like real leaves. They've got a crackling to them and all that. Plus the coloring is great. And that's how I dressed up this sign. Simple yet still effective. Okay, now for the second sign, I'm using this 12-inch wood round. Now you can purchase wood rounds at Dollar Tree all of the time, but this one I did get from Temu, and it does not come with holes in them. Usually the ones from Dollar Tree already have holes in them with a hanger on them, but this one did not. That's okay, we can create our own hanger. But I'm just painting it pumpkin orange by Apple Barrel, and I'm taking the stencil, put it on here. I want to put a bow at the top, so I'm not going to put the stencil all the way to the top. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And now I'm using Apple Orchard. I believe this is by Folk Art, and I am doing the trick or treat lettering with that color. And I think it's important to use the right paintbrush. So when you're doing stencils, use stencil brushes. That will save you a lot of headache, and it will come out so much better. Plus you go up and down, just up and down with stippling effect. And also, I love glitter. You will, if you watched any of my videos, you will learn this. I love glitter, so I decided to do the lettering in green and also use green glitter on top. And that's what I was doing there. And then I'm going to also put glitter onto the other elements that I am going to be adding to this wood round. I'm going to put the stencil back, and I'm going to be putting that ghost, the pumpkin, and the piece of candy on. So I'm just painting the ghost white, and then I'm going to use some white glitter on the ghost. And then I'm going to paint the piece of candy yellow, and I'm going to be using iridescent glitter on the candy. And then for the pumpkin, I'm using Mod Podge because pumpkins are orange. So I just wanted to use the Mod Podge, and then I'm using this glitter. It's called Champagne is the color, but you can use whatever colors you want. And you can see there I'm using the Mod Podge to touch up some in the word trick where the glitter didn't stick as well. Then I just use my hair dryer to dry it all up. There we go, all nice and sparkly. I love sparkly things. And now I'm going to create a bow for the top of my sign. I'm using this ribbon. I believe I purchased both of these ribbons here from Temu. It's very nice, thick ribbon. It's also wired, so it makes shaping it very easily. And then I'm using this piece of orange ribbon. It says Boo on it and has little ghosts on it. It's really cute. I got that from Temu as well. And I'm just going to create a nice bow with this. This is a little piece of silver. I didn't have much of this left. I used that on Nutcracker that I made last Christmas. And this is some gold tulle that I got from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut off a piece of that, and then I will be cutting it in two because it's so wide. So I don't know for sure how long this ribbon is. I just pull out how much I think is going to be enough and cut it off. I usually don't measure it, like a specific amount. And now I'm going to cut all of my pieces of ribbon into, and I'm just going to make just one of those little messy bows. They're probably the easiest bows that you could possibly make. They're very simple to do, and they look great though whenever they're finished.
things don't always have to be, you know, I don't know how to explain it, like perfect or so. I think sometimes messy just looks good. And for this, it does. It looks very nice. So I'm just tying it all together and then just moving it around, getting it where I want it. And then going to glue that to the top of my wood round. This is too thin for me to use staples. Even my smallest staples are too long, and I would just end up stapling my wood round to my table. So I'm just hot gluing it onto the wood round, and then just kind of shaping it a little bit more. And then I'm going to use that boo ribbon, the thin orange ribbon with the boo on it. I'm going to use that to make my hanger. And whenever I do that, I'm going to turn it so that when it's hanging, the lettering is going to be pointing in the right direction. So I'm turning it there to make sure my letters are going to be facing the right way. And then I just cut a couple smaller pieces that's going to help hold the ribbon onto the wood round. You can see on the back of here, I have used this for another project, and I love to reuse things as much as possible. It saves so much money that way. And there we go, the hanger's on there. And how cute is that? It's so sparkly. Great. Okay, for this third project, I am making a board cleaner with that skeleton and the word welcome. You can see my boards are not even. If you want yours even, make them even. And then I have these smaller boards that I'm going to use to hold them all together. Now, the one end is going to be staggered. The other end, I want to be level, straight across. So I'm using my square to make sure that it stays together there. And then I'm going to use my body weight to help hold the boards together while I nail the smaller pieces onto the back. You want to make sure you have your boards flipped the right way so that way when you stand it up, you'll have the boards that you want, the outside, you'll have that facing towards you. I'm just going to move on down and we'll get back on there once again using my body weight to help hold the boards together. And then I'm just going to use some nails to hold them together. You want to make sure you use the right size nails because if they're a little too long, they will go all the way through. And then if they're too short, they won't reach all the way through, and then your boards won't stay together firmly. Okay, so there we go. Got to get the right angle sometimes. Okay, now they're all nailed together. That's great. And now it's time to give it a nice coat of black paint. What I did was I mixed some black acrylic paint with some water. It's kind of like a whitewash, but instead it's black paint, so it's like a blackwash, but it turned out great. I absolutely loved it, and it didn't take a ton of paint to paint the boards. So that was great. Then I lay my stencils out, and I'm going to use my square again. I'm going to measure. So this is just to make sure that I have everything placed right. It's, my stencils are centered on the board, and that they're all in the right alignment, so that everything looks good. You don't want one letter a little to the left more than the others or anything like that. Then it just doesn't look right. So I want it to all flow well. Now I'm just using white paint to paint on the skeleton and the letters. And I just do this all the way down the stencil. You could do whatever colors you want to do. You can, put multiple colors on, do the skeleton, the webs in white, and then do the letters in orange, whatever you want to do. And I had so much space at the bottom of my sign, I decided to stencil on the spooky stencil. I decided to put that on the bottom. Now I'm using this black and white ribbon and the Happy Halloween ribbon again to make a bow for the top. My husband says the black and white striped ribbon reminds him of Beetlejuice. When I look at it, I think Jack Skellington. So let me know, whenever you see the black and white ribbon, does it make you think Beetlejuice, or do you think Jack Skellington, or does it make you think of something else? Now I'm taking that blue ribbon, I'm going to tie the center of the ribbon. You see how I just wrapped it around? I think I've done about 4 loops of the black and white and 3 of the Happy Halloween. And then I just use the blue ribbon to tie it in the center. And then I'm just going to fluff my bow out. I might have only done the Happy Halloween twice. I think I might have. Either way, It's that you make your bow however you want with whatever kind of ribbon you want. You can make it all the same. Poor little kitten jumped up there, tried to jump up on the table, knocked the paint down, my little paint tray down. I think it scared me more than it did him though. And then I'm just going to take my staple gun and staple the bow onto the top of the sign. This is one of the reasons I like working with real wood, is because I can make them much more durable so that they will last a really long time. When I'm using, like I made recently, I made over the porch leaners from Family Dollar. They're $5, but whenever you set them up, they start bowing, and this is not going to do that. Okay, now this is the fourth one. Once again, I'm using a board that was already painted by someone else. It's a pale yellow color, and as you can see, it is very well worn. It would be the same as if you painted the board pale yellow and then heavily took some sandpaper to it. I'm using 2 different stencils for this. I'm using Happy for one and Halloween on the other. And now I'm measuring out my board, marking the center, and I'm going to take a piece of burlap and I'm going to cut a piece that I can stencil this pumpkin on. So I'm measuring that out, how wide I need to cut that piece of burlap. And then I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to cut it, a length so that it will go around the board. I'm going to make sure that I have it in the center so it's nice and centered up, and everything will look cohesive and right. And I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to use my staple gun to staple the burlap onto the sign. Then once I get that burlap once I get the burlap stapled onto the sign, then I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to just use pumpkin orange by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to stencil that on the pumpkin. Now I don't show it in the video. I'm not sure why it doesn't show it, but I do go back and paint the eyes and the mouth of the pumpkin black. Now I'm stenciling on the Halloween. I'm just using just black acrylic paint for this. And once again, just use a stencil brush and go up and down. I have great success just doing that. No other special things needed. And then I'm going to use the Happy from this other stencil. First, I'm going to measure to make sure I have it the same distance from the burlap, just so it looks good. Looks like it's supposed to, not all wonky. And then I'm stenciling on this Happy. The Happy on the other stencil just didn't fit right on this sign. I could make it work, but it just didn't look good. So, not the way I was wanting it to look anyway. So that's why I chose to use the Happy from the other sign, and I think it turned out great. Now I'm using some more fake leaves, and I'm using this burlap ribbon. I got this from Dollar Tree. One has polka dots, and then the other has like a zigzag on it. And I'm cutting the length of the board is about 2 feet long, and I'm cutting the ribbon that same length as the board, whatever the exact measurement is. And then this other ribbon, I believe I got it at Dollar Tree as well, and it just has fall and autumn, different little sayings on it. And I thought the coloring was just nice to go along with the pale yellow of the sign and the leaves and the burlap ribbon that I'm using. And then I took some jute twine and I wrapped it around about 10 times, and I did it about the length of half of the room, so about a foot long. And then the fan kept blowing my ribbon around, so I turned the fan off, and there went some lights. That's why it's a little darker right now, but you still can see what I'm doing. I laid the ribbon out in an X pattern, then took a piece of twine and tied it in the center. Now I'm just kind of curling the ribbon around and shaping the bow to look how I want it to put onto my sign. Just going to put it there, and then once again I'm going to use my staple gun to staple the ribbon onto the sign. Then once I get it on there, I'm going to continue to shape it a little more, and then I'm going to flip it over and use a rusty piece of wire to staple that onto the board to create a hang. It's real easy to create rusty wire. If you can't find it, I've been very lucky just to find pieces here and there, but you can take like a coat hanger or any other kind of wire that will rust and just leave it outside, and in no time at all, you've got you some nice rusty wire to add to your signs. And then I just put a nice orange chrysanthemum in the middle of the bow to finish it off. And there we have this cute little happy Halloween sign with a little burlap pumpkin in the middle. Okay, this is number 5. Don't know what happened to the first part of this where I stenciled on the letters, but you've already seen that. You know how I do it. And I mixed those two colors. One was a very, very dark purple. It was almost black. You couldn't hardly tell that it was purple. And the other was very, very light purple. So I mixed the two together to get kind of a medium purple color. Now I'm taking one of these scented brooms that you can get from Dollar Tree. I purchased that last year, but I see them all the time. And then I took a 12-inch, not 12-inch, it was a 12-inch dowel rod that got from Dollar Tree, but I cut it in two, and I stuck that down to the top of the broom to create a handle. Now I'm taking a piece of burlap, cutting it into a tag shape, and then I'm going to stencil on a witch. And I just added a little more of that dark purple to the lighter purple that I made, so that it's darker than the purple on the sign, but it's not real dark. It doesn't look black. You can actually tell that it's purple. And I'm going to take this Happy Halloween ribbon, cut it in two, and I'm going to make just a little simple bow with it, just wrapping it over, making an X, taking some ribbon, tying the two together, and create just a little bow to put onto the broom. And then I also used another piece of that little orange boo ribbon to create like a hanging part for the tag. And then I'm going to take some of that orange ribbon that was on the bow, and I'm going to use that to staple it around the broom to help hold it onto the sign. And then to hold the tag onto the broom, I'm going to thread some jute twine through the orange ribbon that's on the tag and tie that around the broom. Just going to turn it around there to make it easier to get to. And then the broom keeps moving around, even though it's on there. It's not going to fall off, but I didn't want it to be so freely moving. So I just pull some of the bristles up, use my staple gun to staple it down, put the bristles back over top, and you can't even see it. Now I'm taking another rusty wire, and I'm using my staple gun to staple it to the back of the sign. And I'm taking this creepy cloth. They also have this at Dollar Tree. I ordered mine from Temu. I got a pack of 3 for next to nothing. And then I just use my staple gun to staple it on there. Now I have these glitter spiders. I also got these from Dollar Tree. They have them this year also. I have seen them. They come in green and purple. These were purple ones, but they were outside last year, and so they are a little sun faded, but that's okay. They're still nice and glittery. And then I just take the creepy cloth and twist it all around the legs really well, so those spiders are stuck in there and they are not going anywhere. And then I just use my staple gun to help hold the creepy cloth in place where I want it on the sign. Okay, let's take one final look at all of these projects. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.